Welcome to Digital Marketing ROI, the podcast that connects marketing to your business's revenue and covers everything you need to know to stay up to date in this crazy digital marketing world.
Welcome to Digital Marketing ROI. I'm your host, Shannon Allen. And of course, I'm joined by my favorite co-host, Krystal Vivian. Happy Thursday, Krystal.
Happy Thursday, Shannon. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm ready. I can't believe it's August. It's the month of my birthday, and I don't know how excited I am about that, but it is August.
Are you doing anything fun to celebrate your birthday, or do you not have plans yet?
Probably just time on my boat.
That's a great way to celebrate.
It is. And I think knowing that school is fast approaching for my kid, I might be ready for her to go back to school. I got to admit.
Yeah, I get that.
I like a routine, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't have to sleep till 1 p.m. Structure. Yeah.
Yes. I actually posted for one of our social media management clients that I actually handle personally. I created a post. It was for the end of July, but it was like, are you running for the hills to savor every moment of summer? Or are you ready to get back to the routine of a school day?
No, I agree with that. I'm excited about today. We're talking about not digital product specific, but we're really talking about digital in general, digital marketing and the tipping point and how 2025 is starting to mark, and I hate to say that mark the end of traditional marketing, but it's the end of the dominance, right? And I come from newspaper. I come from radio. Radio's still doing and thriving. Newspaper has changed and evolved. But what I can say, when I worked in newspaper, there was two big ones. There was TV dominance and newspaper dominance when it came to traditional. And boy, have things evolved, right? So we know that for the first time ever, businesses are spending more on digital marketing than traditional channels like TV, radio, and billboards. And we know that's not just a trend. According to statistics, it's definitely a fundamental shift that's going to change how businesses connect with consumers. Yeah. And then this was one of our last podcasts about how they measure success. How can we measure it? Digital is held to a whole different standard, as it should. But because there's more things we can measure, that's why businesses are leaning in, because they can actually see where their dollars are going. Right.
Yes,
so there's definitely that tipping point.
Yes. Let's talk about that. So now that we're seeing more budget, what do you think is driving the massive shift for the tipping point, and what does it mean for business owners?
So let's talk about some stats that I got off of eMarketer as well as Atista. So 72% of overall marketing budgets now go towards digital marketing channels. With 60% of marketing being on digital, I see clients upwards of 75% spending just in the digital world. And I've always said for years, I don't want them only spending in digital with me. I like to see a little bit of a complement to things. But what we're seeing is more push towards digital because there's more opportunity, right? We saw traditional advertising decline by 2.1% in the spring of 2024. And there was definitely some recovery in the fall. I think sometimes people are like, wait a second, I want to get back to some of my radio. And I totally encourage that. But the tipping point isn't going to change. Once it's tipped, we're never going to see everybody shift and go, you know what, I'm going to go all the way back to TV and billboards, and that's where I'm going to spend. It'll never be 100% shift backwards. No. And when I started working more in the digital realm back in even mid 2000s, 2009, 2010, boy, back then it was like 10% of the budget. And then it became 30% was digital. And then people were living in that 50%, and now it's actually tipped, right? It's gone over, especially with some of the more measurable digital, such as search, right? Search engine marketing. There was a few years there that we'd have some people some of the experts, so to speak, be like, oh, people aren't doing search engine marketing. Nobody buys that. Yes, they do. And it continues to grow. It's just going to evolve. It's going to keep changing and evolving.
Yes. So when business owners are reallocating their budgets, which digital channels are they investing in the most?
So let's look at where people are, who's increasing and who isn't. So digital marketing spend in 2024 increased between 7 and 10%. So people were putting more dollars, and we probably saw maybe a little bit higher than that with some of our existing clients. The growth had slowed a little bit from an 11% nationally. I don't think we saw a lot of growth decline. We saw shifting. We saw people trying some other things, but I'm also seeing in 2025, it's already bouncing back. Looking at where you should be spending your money. We look at this all the time and we try not to sell everything. There's a lot of things that fall under that digital umbrella. And that's the part that probably scares me the most is when you try to do too many things. And I'm a big believer here. And I've always said it from day one when I came back to the company and started this division is I don't want to be good at 20 different digital solutions. I want to fall into our four main categories that make the most sense. And for us, that's branding, that's lead generation, that's social engagement. And then our fourth solution is strategy. But as far as products go, most of our clients are living in that branding, which is just your display that falls into addressable geofencing in there, that has your video OTT in there. And then your lead generation is very heavy into SEM. We don't put a lot of budgets into SEO at all, just because it's harder to control and it's more of a service. Our biggest spenders usually fall under either the OTT right now or SEM.
Why are those?
Let's think about video.
Yeah.
Video alone, marketing dominance, 91% of businesses use video as a marketing tool. And now more than ever, now that we're not just running video on social, which is great to do and enhance it, or running it on a Facebook post, we're actually able to take those commercials that are not targeted through TV and push them towards the audience that's very targeted, where consumers are spending most of their time, which is streaming video. So that in itself, and budget wise, it costs more. So if you're really allocating your budget and you want to have a really good video strategy, you need more money for that than you do display. And so if somebody comes to me with a very small budget and they really need to show ROI, I might tell them to hold off on video, prove it with search engine marketing and a display programmatic campaign to really bring them the ROI first. So then they have a little bit more money to put into their budget and then layer in video. But we also know video has really good results. And so you really have to weigh what your ultimate end goal is. In answer to your question, how are they reallocating? When you decide to reallocate your budget at the beginning of the year, you need to really drill in on what your ultimate goals are and align your strategy to go along with that, with whatever digital products you use, as well as traditional.
And fitting it into your budget. Because like you said, if you have a smaller budget, you might be using these different solutions. Whereas if you have a larger budget, then you can be a little bit more holistic and try different things.
Yeah. And the favorite part of our job, whether you're my digital marketing consultant, you're my manager, your team, like we all talk to our clients what's best for them. And what's best for one business is very different than the others. You could have two auto dealers have totally different strategies because their end goals are different, right? One might want to really focus on the used department, and one really might want to focus on service. Very different audiences, very different messages, very different strategies, which ultimately is different budgets.
What are the advantages that businesses are seeing when they make that switch from traditional to digital that traditional channels can't really provide?
First and foremost, it's the targeting, right? I go back to the way that we do business, which everything targets a consumer journey. Now, that does not mean that part of that consumer journey shouldn't include radio, traditional TV, billboard. It absolutely is part of it. It's just figuring out, when it's all said and done, if you're doing a budget, you're doing your home budget for the month, if you are short on budget, you're going to cut the things that are extras. Right. And so as a business owner, you really have to decide what's an extra, right? So we know that the advantage is that precision targeting if you have a limited budget. We know that campaigns can have real-time optimization with digital. My campaign managers are optimizing campaigns on the dime. They're checking them as they're running instead of putting a billboard up that you're stuck with for the next 8 weeks or 3 months, right? You can optimize as you go. The number one reason is really, again, the measurable ROI, right? So for every dollar spent in digital marketing, we can track it to some extent with the client's help back to a conversion and what that equals out to for the return on investment for that client. And really cost efficiency is one. I talked about streaming being expensive, but really digital provides a better cost per acquisition than any traditional channel because I can measure it. The reason why I never shy away from putting somebody into a display campaign is because it's one of the most affordable with one of the higher conversions that we can do. I really think digital, the advantage that we're seeing over traditional is that one-on-one marketing, right? Talking one-on-one to the consumer with that targeting, what they need, that emotional with video, what we can say. TV offers that as well, but we don't know that person watching the 6 o'clock news and you're marketing a very specific message where your consumer is watching at any time. We don't know that. We do know to a better extent with digital. So we know that's going to give them an advantage. And really, last but not least, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, is agility. We pivot quickly. We change things quickly. I was meeting with a car dealer that we pitched them and they said, well, we tried OTT for 30 days, but it didn't work. And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't let you do it less than 90 days because you can't measure it. There's not enough data there. And if you work with us, you would have to do something like that for a 90-day period. Now, if we really get in there and nothing's happening, can we pivot? Absolutely. It's just very rare that happens. It's a long-term marketing message. You need to give it time to optimize itself and find the right audience. But if we need to, we have that agility that traditional marketing doesn't typically have. Exactly.
Yeah. When businesses are doing this transition, what kind of challenges are they facing? And are there any risks to just completely abandoning traditional marketing channels?
Absolutely. I never want somebody, you'd have to have a very specific business type to abandon all traditional. Like e-commerce is a totally different beast. But in that case, if you're fully e-commerce, you're going after solutions that I'm not even working with, which is like maybe Amazon selling or some things that are very specific to tied into e-commerce. But I believe the biggest concern would be you'd never want to put all your eggs in one basket, nor do I want my consumer to do that or our business owner. We don't want to just only rely on digital. You just have to figure out where your audience lies on that consumer journey. Really coming down to, while digital is more measurable, this attribution across multiple touch points can be very complex. Like we're trying to measure a lot of attributions. I think it's very valuable to have a radio. You're having an event, you should be all over radio talking about it and measuring it and seeing if you're seeing increases to foot traffic or more traffic to the website. Radio now, a lot of companies, ours particularly with radio, we have attribution measurements that we can measure your website activity during a radio campaign. So those tie in well, and make sure you're complementing that with your digital. So yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket. There can be digital fatigue, right? Consumers are becoming overwhelmed by digital advertising. We just need to make sure we're doing it the right way. And that comes down to strategy, right? So there can definitely be a disadvantage there. I never want to see traditional go away. I'm just a big believer in marketing as a whole, but you do have to 100% be open to how marketing has evolved, specifically where digital marketing comes in. And the new stuff like OTT and streaming. Do not be the business owner that says, nobody's there. I don't watch it, so why would anybody else? You have to sometimes take yourself out of that element and say, okay, if I want to reach a younger generation, maybe I need to be there more. Oh, by the way, I'm 54. I'm not a younger generation, and I don't watch linear TV. I don't pay for my TV.
So I just read an article, I think I sent it to you, where with the tipping point with streaming and how more consumers are streaming now than are watching traditional broadcasts, like we've officially hit that tipping point, it is driven by baby boomers. Yes. It is driven by older adults who are finally cutting the cord, or at least signing up for Netflix or Hulu or HBO, and maybe they're using their millennial child's account and logging in that way, but that is what they're going. I can't imagine anyone really, or a vast majority of people, or even a good chunk of people saying, I don't watch that at all. If you're saying that, I think that you don't know what we're talking about. Then you don't understand that
it's exactly right. And let's think about who has more disposable income, the older generation, my generation. My generation, 100% is more likely just to buy, even more than the younger or the older. Like we're buying. And guess where I'm at? I'm not reading the newspaper anymore. I still absolutely listen to the radio. Where do I make all my buying decisions? All online. I do all my shopping online. I do everything online. I still walk into physical places because I like to, but you're going to reach me. You want to make sure that you have the right mix of digital and traditional. And in some cases, just know when to run that. Like I said, an event, absolutely get everything you can on your radio stations, your local radio, so that you can yell that out. But if you're limited budget, you have to choose between traditional and streaming. Lean towards streaming. And when do you use traditional TV? Like like the Weather Channel, like the Weather Spot, the 6 o'clock news. There's great things, and that's upper funnel. You don't know who's watching at any time. So it's a great time to do upper funnel awareness if you can get an affordable price.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And think about this, even if you are doing a traditional ad, when is the last time that you walked into a physical location without even looking them up on social media or on Google or on something like that, regardless of if you heard about them in a radio ad or saw them in an OTT ad? All right, let's wrap up with our favorite topic, which is ROI. How does the shift to digital first marketing translate to better ROI for businesses, and what should businesses owners be doing to capitalize on it?
We know that we talked about being able to pivot, right? So digital marketing campaigns can be optimized in real time. So that leads to better performance, lower waste, better strategy, right? We can change on the dime. Better cost efficiency, right? 70% of business leaders plan to spend the same or more on marketing this year. And when we're doing that, digital provides more bang for the buck. It just does overall. Faster results, unlike traditional campaigns that may take weeks to measure, certain digital, specifically SEM, that first 30 days of any SEM campaign, you're literally seeing the traffic to your website. I can track it. It's leading to the landing page. I know exactly what's going on. I know it exactly. And it takes the guesswork out. Scale is one of the biggest ROIs when it comes to digital. We can be scaled up quickly and efficiently. We can do what we're trying to accomplish with that one-on-one messaging. And then really that compound effect, more businesses shift to digital, the cost of traditional, combine those together for ROI, but have goals at the end. So everything with the tipping point, everything we're doing in digital marketing, you still need goals to measure to show that ROI. But even with traditional, you have to set yourself some goals on what you're trying to accomplish and how they work together. I just can measure digital better than I can traditional, but don't be afraid to make sure that you're asking for that ROI from any partner that you work with, whether that be digital or traditional. Yeah. And look, the tipping point is only going to continue. It's tipped over. It's not going backwards. We're not going to be having this podcast in early 2026 and I'll be like, wow, digital is gone, man. We're all back to traditional. It's never going backwards. I think digital, with the way AI is changing the landscape, will change some of the things that we know and look at when it comes to digital marketing and how it ties to specifically SEM. But that's a different conversation that will continue to evolve. But traditional marketing has to evolve themselves, which is why you see most of these radio companies. I look at somebody like Town Square Media, their CEO just talked about they're a digital first company, but yet their core bread and butter is still radio. And he just put an article out that stated that they're hurting both. They're hurting in their radio and they're hurting in their digital, because sometimes you're trying to do too much, but at least they shifted, right? Yeah. But it's a lot for one seller to be able to sell everything, both traditional and digital, which is why, in our company, we separated Federated Digital Solutions out, because it's like going to the doctor and you don't want to see your general practitioner if you are dealing with a ear, nose, and throat issue. And right. A lot of these traditional companies, they were smart enough to pivot. The problem is you've got to figure out what that looks like overall, because you still have a core business to sell and you've got your sellers out there pushing everything. When is that what everybody needs? I don't know. And do we give them the luxury where, as a digital only, yes, we cannot sell traditional TV. We can't sell specifically radio or billboards, but I can sell pretty much everything digitally that I believe brings you an ROI. And we are the experts in digital. That's our job.
Yes, absolutely. There is a time and a place for a jack of all trades, but then you're really a master of none. And if you really want to get them both out of a particular solution, having somebody who specializes in it. I don't want just a regular home services professional to come to my home to help me. I want somebody who can paint. I want somebody who can take care of my HVAC system. I want somebody who can do my landscaping. And that's 3 different people.
Yeah.
Can one person do all of those things? Sure. But are any of those one things going to be excellent?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
More to come on the tipping. I'm sure if we do this again in 6 months, we're going to be introducing more conversations, but what's going to happen is the digital will continue to outweigh the traditional. That's just a prediction that I'm not just making, it's being made with all.
Yeah, that's where everything is going. And it's not a
Yes.
trend. It is a pendulum shift, and it is going in that direction. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Krystal. I appreciate it. Enjoy this beautiful summer day. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in, and join us for our next episode of Digital Marketing ROI.
You've been listening to Digital Marketing ROI from Federated Digital Solutions. Do you have an idea for a future episode or a burning digital marketing question? Text ROI to 45364 to get a link where you can share your idea. Subscribe to get new episodes every other Thursday, plus Tip Tuesday insights every week.
Podcasts by Federated Media.